in Instagram stories at first were unironically calling me a white colonizer, calling
Mm.
me a Nazi. I say it with confidence. I am a white colonizer. We've done a really terrible job at representing ourselves and representing Jewish people. We're in a desperate fight for our survival right now.
I live in America and I'm American, and that's what Americans care about is this race lens.
Somebody will come to kill us. They're not going to check what color skin. It's like, you're a
No.
Jew, I'm coming to kill you. Zionism is irremovable from our worldview. You
Mm.
can't be a Jew without being a Zionist.
Welcome back to another episode of the Black and Jewish podcast. My special guest today is Tal Oran, also known as Tal, the Traveling Clat. He is a YouTuber, a pro-Israel advocate, and a Mizrahi Jew. Tal, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me.
I'm so excited to
Me
talk
too.
about Mizrahi Jews.
Me
Like,
too.
no one's talking about them, no one's seeing them, no one knows about them. So, I want to start with define what the term Mizrahi means and where that term came from.
So Mizrahi, essentially, Mizrach means in Hebrew east, Mizrahi meaning the eastern. It essentially qualifies all the Jews who lived sort of east of Israel or Palestine, however you want to say at the time. But Mizrahi Jews also sort of fall into a subcategory with Sephardi Jews. So everybody's more like the term is more known as like Ashkenazi Sephardi Jews. So
Yes.
Mizrahi is kind of like this subcategory that people don't know. And they always ask, do Ethiopians fit into there? What about Indian Jews? What about Chinese Jews? It's ambiguous, but I would say that like most of the Middle Eastern Jews, sort of Arabized Jewish groups, fit into the Mizrahi category.
Right. And
Yeah.
then when we're talking about large groups like Ashkenazi and Sephardi, the Mizrahi can also fit into Sephardic when people are just speaking
Yeah, or vice versa.
generally, or vice
Sephardi
versa.
fits into Mizrahi, like Moroccans, Libyans, Tunisians. A
Yes.
lot of them came from the Spanish Inquisition, or some were even Ashkenazi Jews that ended up in North Africa. And then they can sometimes interchangeably go between Mizrahi to Sephardi.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a bit ambiguous because like Indian Jews, they don't get called Mizrahi, they just get called Indian Jews.
Right.
Ethiopian Jews they don't really called Mizrahi, they're called Afro-Jews
Right.
alongside Djibouti Jews and Somalian Jews or Sudanese Jews.
Why do you think that is?
Honestly, I don't know.
Okay.
People say that the Mizrahi Jewish, this is like sort of the pro-Palestine conspiracy. They said the Mizrahi Jewish term was initially a racist term. Like that's
Mm,
what people who created the state of Israel would use to discriminate against Mizrahi Jews. We know that the establishment of the state of Israel wasn't perfect from the Mizrahi perspective,
right.
but nowadays all of that's changed. Like Mizrahi Jews embrace the title and the name completely. Like as you know, being in Israel, like Mizrahi Jewish culture is almost sort of like the main dominant culture in the country
It
when it
is the
comes to
Israeli
it
culture,
is Israeli
really.
culture, from the
Yes.
food to the music to the dances, everything.
Even the language of how Hebrew is spoken.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So your family is from where?
So it's really cool. I just did a DNA test.
Okay.
I won't give all the results here because I'm working on a really special video about it.
Okay.
But my immediate grandparents, so my mom's side, they're from Baghdad, from Iraq.
Mm-hmm.
And on my dad's side, they're a mix of a group called Nashlidan, which were these sort of pseudo-Kurdish,
Oh.
pseudo-Caucasus group that spoke Aramaic.
Okay.
They're a very, very ancient lineage of Jews that not a lot of people know about. And then my grandma, she was Turkish from Istanbul. So altogether, the map, it's a little more complicated than that even because my grandma's ethnicity is super interesting. Like she came from where her great grandma came from where Abraham was born. But
Wow.
the side that I'm really, really connected to is the Baghdadi side.
Okay.
And my grandpa's story, you know, like the destruction of the first temple when the
Yes.
Babylonians casted the Jews from Yerushalayim to Babylon.
Yes.
That is the group that my grandpa comes from. And my
Wow.
DNA like backed it up almost 100%. Yeah.
Wow. Also, that is where the Ethiopians also come from. They were part of the first exile as well.
Correct.
Yes.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
Mhm.
super
Yeah, so
interesting.
we actually, that's the funny thing is the Iraqi Jews, specifically the Babylonian Iraqi Jews, they have this special connection with Ethiopian Jews, even though they never really interacted. They also didn't keep Purim and they
Oh,
didn't celebrate Hanukkah.
right.
They started doing that after Ashkenazi Jews and other Sephardi Jews would visit Iraq. That's when they started doing it, but they didn't really visit the Ethiopian Jews. So, but we
Mm,
had that same practice where those Baghdadi Jews didn't keep those holidays because they weren't a part of that story. They were casted
right.
out way earlier.
Right. Can you tell me what you mean by specifically Babylonian Iraqi Jews?
Sure. So Iraq had many communities of Jews. My grandma, she was born in Baghdad, but her lineage is not Baghdadi.
Mm,
Her mom was from Basra, which is far east of Iraq on the border of Iran, where Abraham is from.
okay.
So Abraham was born in a city called Ul-Kasdim from the Bible, and Uruk was the ancient Babylonian city near Basra today.
Oh,
So that's
wow.
really, really fascinating. That's where like one side of my grandma. The other side of my grandma is a Kurdish slash Assyrian Jew, also
Okay.
an ancient lineage of Jewish people that spoke Aramaic from the far north of Iraq. Babylonian Jews are considered the Jews that lived in Baghdad, the ancient capital of
Mm,
Babylon.
okay.
So that they're also, it's interesting because you can tell who they are based on their skin color. My grandpa was completely white looking. Like you wouldn't see
Wow.
it on me, but
Yeah.
I get all my color from my grandma.
Yeah.
My
From the other side.
from the other side,
Okay.
from the more Basrawi side. The
Okay.
Baghdadi side, and most Baghdadi Jews, they tend to have this like lighter skin appearance. They still look Middle Eastern, but like they're way more lighter skin.
But
And
they
that
still have the Middle Eastern features.
yes,
Yes.
absolutely. Like my
Okay.
grandpa rocked this really epic mustache and you could see his facial features between his nose and his facial hair. He was definitely Middle Eastern, but lighter skin. And that's how most of the Baghdadi Jews kind of appear. They look a little bit more lighter skin.
Okay, so you have this hat on that says white colonizer. And since we're talking
Indeed.
about light-skinned Jews,
Yeah.
talk talk to me about this claim that you're a white colonizer, given that your family is came from Iraq, and I don't know when they migrated to Israel, but you can tell us about that as well. But just this charge that people come at us Jews and call us white colonizers, like how does that make you feel? What does that make you think about? And really, what is it that you want to explain to non-Jewish communities looking at Jews and saying, well, why is, your skin color like this or like that? And some come lighter. And how can you be from the same country and have white skin and dark skin?
Yeah, absolutely. You're exposing me as a white colonizer for real now. Like I'm on the spot.
Yeah, it's well, you put the hat on.
I did. Guilty. So the hat actually means it's a joke, but it means a lot to me. And I
Okay.
wear it ironically. I sell it on my YouTube channel. It's part of my merchandising. And it started off as like a joke. I started calling myself a white colonizer. But in reality, it's something that really affected me like a really hard and bad way. When I was in Southeast Asia at the time the October 7th started, it was immediate for me. Like I
Mm,
had a successful YouTube channel with 250,000 subscribers. I had a decade-long career traveling around the world. And from the first day, people from all over the world that I knew, because I publicly supported Israel,
yeah.
in Instagram stories at first, were unironically calling me a white colonizer, calling
Mm,
me a Nazi. Now,
mm.
my grandparents were actually kicked out of Iraq by the SS, by actual
Right.
Nazis. People don't know that the pogroms that happened in Iraq were directly influenced by Hitler. Like
Mm,
that influenced the ideology in Iraq, in Babylon, in Baghdad. So I had this really hard time swallowing this pill of being called a white colonizer. I was like, it was very difficult for me to just take it
yes.
because I always thought about my grandma. My grandma is now bedridden. She's very sick. She's old.
Yeah.
86-year-old refugee from Iraq.
Yeah.
She didn't serve in the army. She never killed anybody. She made it to Israel because she was kicked out of her home country. And when rockets from Hamas were flying over her head and from Hezbollah, there was no UN protecting her. There was nobody standing up for her. We had the
Mm,
IDF and that's it.
yeah.
There was no human rights organization vouching for the Iraqi Jewish diaspora in Israel or
Right.
for the Yemenite Jews or the Ethiopian Jews. Nobody's standing up for these black and brown Jews who also deserve, I think, a right to exist.
Right.
So I had a really hard time swallowing that pill, and that journey began for me from October 7th.
Mm,
It was balancing how do I present myself to specifically the Arab world, and how do I make them understand, crucially, that this racist ideology that we have now, that somehow all Jews are white colonizers, and even the thing that really ticks me off is that somehow labeling Ashkenazi Jews as white when they've never ever been accepted as white by pretty much anyone. It drives me up a wall. Us Jews, we get persecuted because we are Jewish,
right.
because people recognize us as such. And the whole ideology of calling myself a white colonizer, ironically, is to hopefully dupe the other side into confusion,
Yeah.
and open up a conversation about it. When people see me with this hat, or when people see me represent myself as a white colonizer, they get confused.
Right.
because I say it with confidence.
Yeah.
I don't say it ironically. I throw them off. I say it like I am a white colonizer.
Oh, okay. So you say it in a way that you're being
I'm
serious.
being serious. Yeah,
Yeah.
and they have no idea what to make of me.
Right.
But when they hear my family story and they understand that like my family story directly negates almost all of the talking points of the pro-Palestine side. Uh, and this is the thing that drives me to want to platform Mizrahi Jewish voices and Afro-Jewish voices because our stories, they destroy the pro-Palestine narrative.
Mm,
And I feel like I've been fighting sometimes alone for the last year and a half to just try to push that forward. And
yeah.
it's something, a big criticism I have with the Jewish world as well. We don't put Mizrahi Jewish voices and Afro-Jewish voices forward enough.
And one, why do you think that is? I know that you did a rant on
Yeah.
Instagram. Everybody go check out his rant. It's a good rant on the Hasbara strategy of Israel and not showing the diverse faces of Israel. So I'd say I do agree with you. The only caveat that I have, which I actually don't think you would disagree with me, is that we just need to show qualified, diverse faces, which we have plenty
Right.
of that in the Afro world, in the Mizrahi world, Sephardic world. So that's my only caveat that I like to say, because I don't think it's enough just to show our face without having a strong message behind it.
Mhm.
But why do you think that is? Because even here in America, and I say like I'm a black Jew, they don't even know about Mizrahi or Sephardi
Yeah.
Jews. Like my rabbi is half Moroccan and half Yemenite. And when he walks around, people think he's an Arab Muslim, and he's like, I'm Jewish. And so here in America, they're just familiar with seeing Ashkenazi Jews. So, but why do you think that the strategy has not included your voice or voices
So
like yours?
I've had a lot of introspection about this year, and I think this is really important. Like people don't think about this part of our identity as much. So growing up in South Florida, I grew up in a predominantly Mizrahi Jewish community. People don't know that South Florida has one of the biggest Jewish communities in the world.
Yeah, I say that the Jews colonized South Florida, not Israel. Because I
Yeah,
come here, I'm like,
we did.
mezuzahs everywhere.
Absolutely colonized that. And it's only getting worse.
Yes.
Before I would say there's a lot more diversity now in the Jewish community here. But when
Hmm.
I was growing up here, like 20 years ago, 28 years ago,
Yeah.
this was predominantly Israeli Jews and
Mm.
predominantly Mizrahi Israeli Jews. So I
Mm.
grew up around Yemenite Jews, tons of Moroccans. Like all my childhood friends growing up are Moroccan. Yemenite, Moroccans, Tunisians, Algerians, Iraqis. These are the communities we grew up around here in South Florida. And I think back as a kid of Jewish representation, especially like propelled by American Jewish communities, I cannot find, even till today, really one example of a Mizrahi Jew or a brown or black Jew, either Ethiopian or Mizrahi, that was representing Jewish people in America.
Mm.
And the thing is, for the last 100 years, I would say, Jewish people in media in America have had the opportunity. And I'm not going to blame American Jews. I'm going to say I blame all of us.
Yeah.
I blame my parents as well. I blame everybody who didn't think it was important enough to push a Mizrahi Jew in front of the screen here,
Right.
or in media, or in books, or in whatever it be. Because when I think back of what a person thinks of a Jew in America, they see a caricature of like Jerry Seinfeld eating a bagel, lox, and cream cheese
Yes.
sandwich
Yes.
and a Hanukkah menorah. And
Yes.
that's what they know of Jewish people. And if
Yes.
you tell them Israel, they think it's a desert with camels. I mean,
Yes.
that's what I remember kids in high school would tell us. They'd be like, "You're an Israelite?
Yes.
You guys ride camels everywhere?"
Yeah. Yes.
So we've done a really terrible job at representing ourselves and representing Jewish people. And it's all of our fault, I'd say collectively. But now it's the turning point where if okay, we realize what might be a big part of the solution of our PR war is just shoving as many brown and black voices as you can forward from our group. And I
Mm.
say do it unapologetically.
Yeah.
Don't tokenize us. Just do it unapologetically.
How can they do that without tokenizing?
Just doing it by a mass, making it the forefront.
Oh, instead of like choosing one
Yeah.
and just pushing one person, like
I'm
one
I'm a very
Mizrahi Jew.
straightforward person.
Yeah.
I'm a straight shooter. I
Yeah.
speak directly.
Yeah.
I think we should take the emotions out of the equation. Uh, and I don't say this as a dig at Ashkenazi Jews, but Ashkenazi Jews have had the last 100 years in the forefront of the media in America for Jewish people. They
Mm.
have been the voice of the Jewish people. It's been 100 years of only that.
Yeah.
It's time to unapologetically shove as many Mizrahi voices, as many Afro-Jewish voices forward to change that agenda. And it doesn't have to be seen as tokenizing. It should be seen as we're in a desperate fight for our survival right now.
Hmm.
I mean, our reputation in America, all of us Jews, and it doesn't matter if we're Ashkenazi or not, or if we dress religious or not. You and I are affected by that too.
Right.
So we have to see it as like a very urgent plea to change the status quo.
What do you think by doing that? How do you What do you think it will achieve in the media PR war? Like, so if we shove Afro-Jewish voices and Mizrahi Jewish voices and Sephardic Jewish voices to the forefront, what do you think that will achieve?
The first thing that it'll achieve, which I think is really necessary right now, is it will call out the hypocrisy on the pro-Palestine side
Okay.
because there's tons of it, but it doesn't get called out enough in media in America.
For example.
For example, them discriminating against a black Jewish person
Mm,
or a Mizrahi Jewish person. So,
mm,
for example, with me, I, because of identity politics in America, and I use this in bad faith, and I always say that I do it in bad faith
yeah.
because I fight in bad faith.
Yes.
Um, I get to jump in and out of different groups as I please.
Yeah.
One day I get to be Arab, one day I get to be Jewish. And
Mm,
I only do this because this is how they see us. So
mm,
in the Mizrahi example specifically, they will see me as an Arab when it's convenient for them, and when it's not convenient for them, I'm a dirty Jew. So I
mm.
use the same thing. I'll jump in and out of those groups as I please
When is it convenient for them to see you as an Arab?
when they try to push us as we all lived in peace.
Okay.
So you were just an Arab Jew. You're an Arab that is a Jew by religion,
Yeah.
and we all lived in peace until Zionism.
Right.
Like one, Zionism is an eternal concept of the Jewish people that's always existed.
Yes.
That's why you dig underground, you find coins that say freedom to Zion in Jerusalem from 2,000 years ago.
Yes.
But that's an inconvenient truth for them.
Yes.
But again, it's like this idea of we were all living in kumbaya and peace and love before 1948.
Because you were like us, because you spoke Arabic
You're
and we
just
just
like
seen you
us.
Arab. But that's not true.
And it's always so dramatic. It's like you betrayed us, you left us. Like you guys have been murdering, raping, torturing, like just using is subjugating us to the worst human rights possible. Not just us, but
Yeah.
Christian Arabs in the Middle East, Yazidis, Coptic people, Mandeans, Amazigh people, all of these people in the Middle East, there's this giant coalition of ethnic minorities in the Middle East that you and I are a part of. And we don't get any platform, we don't get any voice.
Right.
And I would say that sort of racist liberal people in America brush us all off as just brown and black people of the Middle East. They're like they're all Arabs.
Right.
That's the way we're
Right.
seen.
Yes.
It's like,
Yes.
tell me what's Arab about a Somali person?
Nothing.
What's Arab about a Sudanese person?
Nothing.
What is Arab about an Iraqi person? There's nothing Arab about them.
Yeah.
They're completely Mesopotamian slash Babylonian slash Akkadian.
Yeah.
They're only Arab by the fact that they were colonized by Arabs.
Right.
And it's like this is the whole picture of the Middle East, pretty much.
So what I hear you saying is that this strategy would primarily help with the American landscape, like American liberals here in the United States. And what do you think? Do you, because I do think that lately I've been struggling with, I'm a conservative
Hmm.
and just using liberal terminology lately
Hmm.
to defend Israel. Like I've been wanting to shift to talking about our strengths and how we've won. And when you look at all of the wars that we fought and we won, like that I kind of want to use my strategy to talk about how we're winners. But obviously, I have to attack this racial thing because I live in America and I'm American, and that's what Americans care about is this race lens. But when I think about Israel, there's so much more to Israel than the racial component.
Yeah,
There's so much more to the conflict than the racial component. I would even say that Americans made it about this racial component,
absolutely.
whereas in Israel, I wouldn't say Israelis or Palestinians view themselves as there's these white Israelis oppressing us because we're brown. Like I've never heard a Palestinian in Israel argue that way. I only hear that argument when I'm here in the United States. There's so many more policy issues and different issues that Israelis and Palestinians talk about that they're fighting over. But so all that to say, here, like the racial component really, really matters. But do you think it matters in the international world? Like, do you think that Mizrahi, Sephardic, and Afro-Jews also need to be pushed to the front for the rest of the international community and not just the US?
Yeah, it's like a 12-pronged answer I have for that. I'm
Okay.
so passionate about this topic too. I could talk about it forever. Like you're asking the best possible question too, because this is what I tackle in my own content creation journey every day. I talk about these topics every single day. So few pieces. One is I didn't mention this earlier, but I think that Jewish people in America, the representation they've had for the caricature of Jewish people
Hmm.
has had resounding effects for how people around the world view Jewish people.
Okay.
So because America is the predominant place where people intake media and I would say information generally in the world, the caricature that people see about Jews around the world is what Jews have presented themselves as in America,
Right.
not necessarily Israel,
Right.
unfortunately. In Israel in general, we're just terrible at PR. Like we're the worst at PR.
Yes.
So America has had like one level up on PR on what Jewish or Israel means. But again, they've represented it, I would say 99% as Ashkenazi Jewish. So we've never even had a chance to really present ourselves as something different.
Mm.
And that has those effects. It has its effects in the UN. It has its effects even in the Arab world because people forget the Arabs ethnically cleansed almost a million Mizrahi Jews from the Middle East. There are no Jews living in the Middle East really, and the ones who do live are oppressed by the governments they're currently living on. Like I think there's 10,000 in Iran, but the IRGC oppresses them, so it's not like people in Iran know who Jewish people are.
Right.
Yemen doesn't know what a Jewish person is.
Mm.
When I speak to Iraqis, which I speak to tons now, because I represent myself as an Iraqi Jew, and a lot of Iraqis who are apologetic for the fact that they kick Jews out of their country, they gravitate to me on social media. When I tell them about who we are, they like instantly want to be our friend because there's a connection there and they don't know it.
Mm.
Imagine for the last three generations, for the last 70 plus years, Iraqis growing up, Muslim or Christians, don't know what a Jew is.
Right.
Like even if they're Christian, they grow up praying to Jesus, or if they're Muslim, they talk about Bnei Israel and they talk about what happened in Jerusalem and the stories, King David and King Solomon. They don't know what a Jewish person is.
Right.
And the representation they have of what a Jewish person is still that Jerry Seinfeld caricature in the Middle East.
Right.
That's how powerful the image of what American Jews have pushed, it goes around the world.
Yeah.
So
And
I
that's
think
the power of just America in general. Like
hmm
when I go to Israel and then one of the first time I went there, like, do you listen to black music? And I was like, What's black music? Like I've never
it's
heard
kind of like
that.
all music, but
Yeah, they're like black music. And I was like, black. And I'm like, hip hop? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, oh, okay. And so like you see American influence everywhere by way
Mhm.
of who America is, a superpower in the world.
Absolutely.
We push culture. I want to circle back to you saying you identify as an Iraqi Jew. So on the show, I've had tons of talks and debates and interviews with others too about this term, a Black Jew, an Iraqi Jew, an Ethiopian Jew. So I have always said that I use the term Black Jew because I have to here in America for people to understand who I am. However, I do believe that the Torah has names for us, and we just need to use the terminology that the Torah calls us, which is Bnei Israel. We have all types of names, and these are the places we were exiled to. And so, as long as we continue to identify with the place that we're exiled to and not the term of who we are, we're Israelites, we're Bnei Israel, we're whatever, whichever name you want to use, I think that, we're not reclaiming to how to tell people how to identify us, like by always calling us the Black Jew or this Jew or that Jew. Um, but I got some pushback on that. So I had an Iranian Jewish girl, shout out to her. I don't know who she is, but she was in my comments pretty heavy. And she was
Dang.
like, I pray in Farsi. All my music's in Farsi. I love my music and I love my language and I love my culture and I love my food. And I wasn't saying that you need to disconnect from being an Iranian Jew, but I was just saying about the term, like the terminology. So what do you think about that?
So I, I'm one of the worst people to ask about this because like I said, I do stuff in bad faith
Okay.
because I'm an aggressive debater and I'm an aggressive arguer.
Okay.
And I'm trying to bring the Mizrahi Jewish energy to the conversations now. I
Okay.
don't feel like there's been enough of it. So
Right.
I do these conversations and like these bad faith actions by any means necessary.
Okay.
I think
I like that you're blunt about that.
unapologetic about it. You know,
Yes.
when I debate or when I talk, people sometimes are uncomfortable by it, but I try to bring the energy of my grandparents and what I grew up around. I grew up in an Arabized family, in a
Mm-hmm.
very Iraqi Jewish family that
Yes.
was aggressive. There was a lot of cursing, there's a lot of arguing. We talk by yelling at each other.
Yes.
We talk with our hands and we talk with cursing
Yes.
because we're crazy.
Right.
And I take pride in that. It's
Right.
part of our lineage.
Yes.
Um,
Yes, I feel you on
you know
that.
the term majnun, yeah? Like you've heard that term
No,
before?
I haven't.
Majnun in Arabic means crazy.
Okay.
Like we're all majnunim, you know, like we're all crazy. Like
Oh,
we're
it's kind of like Mishugat.
yeah, like
Oh,
Meshuggah,
okay. Okay.
exactly. So, you know, I don't know. It's hard for me to sort of adjust like all these terms that you can use this, you can't use that. I kind of push back on that all the time
Okay.
because I'm going to identify as an Iraqi Jew when it's convenient for me in that argument.
Okay.
I'm also going to identify as a Mizrahi Jew when it's convenient to me in that argument. I'll identify as Turkish or Kurdish or whatever group I need to make the point that I'm making for somebody who hates Israel or is anti-Semitic.
Mm,
When it comes to our circles, right, in the Jewish circles, and we're talking to other Jewish people,
yes.
I just did my DNA test. I
Yeah.
know who I am.
Yes.
I had my conclusions from before because of my family story,
Right.
but now solidify. I know exactly who I am and where my family comes from.
Mm,
I agree with you 100%. I even think the term Jew is kind of lost on most people of what it actually means. We are Bnei Israel.
right.
We're the children of Israel, the nation of Israel.
Yes.
But those topics are sometimes too holistic for most Jews, especially Western Jews who speak English. It's hard for them to understand such a holistic topic. Going
Mm,
back to the age of when we were the 12 tribes and understanding that we're more of a family and we can look any way, we can be any part of any culture. A lot of Jews don't understand this.
yes.
I think it's something that you and I, who are, and I also kind of hate this term. I find it a bit cringy, like Jews of color, but
Oh, I hate
I
that
hate that term,
term. Oh
but
man, can we
I hate
return
it.
that term?
I hate that term. I'm with you.
Oh my
But
goodness.
since
Because
we,
even the color white is a color.
of
Like, what do
course,
you, I don't,
and
okay,
white
but
people also aren't even like a thing. Like white people isn't a thing. There's so many tribes of white people and families of white people. Like
yes.
you could be Italian, you could be Greek, you could just be Spanish. It's also kind of racist to brush people off as black, white, brown, whatever.
Yes.
But whatever, for the sake of argument,
Yes.
we do fall into that category, and we're uniquely set up to understand what that means, which is that we can look anyway. I don't see you as because of the color of your skin, and I hope you feel the same about me. I don't see you as any different to me.
Well,
Yeah,
I feel like we're a little bit closer because I mean, you could say black and brown, but to me, I think brown and brown. Like, what
right.
makes this is black? You know what I mean? Like, I'm a different shade of brown. Like, when the Bible talks about olive, like we could both be olive.
Absolutely.
Like, what? Like, this is olive. That is olive. What is
And
olive?
I always think back about like this is one thing that really riles me up about the Jewish world today, especially in the West. We think about Moshe,
Yeah.
story of Moshe. He
Yes.
married Zipporah.
Yes.
Zipporah was from the tribe of the Midianites.
Yes.
They weren't Israelites. They weren't Jews because there was no such thing as a Jew back then.
Right.
And the common belief is that she either was some sort of Yemenite tribe or an Ethiopian tribe.
Right.
And I always think to people like when they're shocked by the fact that we can be different colors and we don't all look a certain way, even Jews who don't understand that we can look different colors. I
Yes.
always try to push back to that story, which is like we have never ever looked one way. We have
Yes.
never ever been one way.
No.
We're a family that's very diverse. We're made up of a bunch of different groups. But the thing that binds us together is this shared hatred of us. What
Mm,
puts us together is that somebody will come to kill us. They're not going to check what color skin is. Like, you're a
no.
Jew, I'm coming to kill you. They're not going to
Yes.
check if you believe in God. They're not
Yeah.
going to check if I put on tefillin every day or if you keep Shabbat. They're going
Right.
to kill you based on the fact that you're a Jew.
Right.
And not that it's your religion, because if you don't believe in God, you cease being a Muslim. If you don't
Right.
believe in God, you cease being a Christian.
Right.
If you don't believe in God, you don't cease being a Jew.
You're still a
You're
Jew.
still a Jew. You're still a children of
You get
Israel.
judged by God differently, but you're still a Jew. No.
You're still a part of that family.
Yes.
And you will be judged accordingly by the people who want to kill you.
Yes.
So I always try to push that, but that's more for Jewish circles
Yeah.
because that's something for like the family. That's something for the tribe. That's something that
Mm,
we kind of need to understand. We need to awaken ourselves to the fact that no, we're not just one stream of things. We've always been very diverse. I want to picture it to you like this. Something I recently did some like geographical homework on. Put Israel real quick on your brain on a map.
mm,
Where does Israel sit? It sits in the crossroads of Africa, Asia, and Europe.
right.
Like all three continents pretty much touch Israel.
Right.
And it's always been the land bridge of all three civilizations on all those continents. So it's insane to me when people, especially in the pro-Palestine side, and then ignorant Jewish people as well, it does happen to both sides,
Yeah.
try to paint us all as one thing.
Yes, I recently was at a Middle Eastern fellowship and we were learning about Middle Eastern region, etc., the history of Israel, and they started to talk about a Yemenite community that was in Israel from 1882.
Hmm.
And an Ashkenazi woman said, wow, there were already Mizrahi Jews in Israel by 1882. I thought prior to the 1800s, the only people that were in Israel were Ashkenazi. And that just blew my mind because prior to Ashkenazi coming to Israel, there were already Jews still living in the land.
Hmm.
You know, like not so many, but there were still Jews living in the land who have no connection to being Ashkenazi, you know? So, but from her perception, even the fact that there were Yemenite Jews in Israel as of 1800 was like mind blowing for her. And I was like, wow, we
Yeah.
really need to work on our Jewish history.
We've done such a bad job. You know, the first aliyot of Yemenite Jews, even they go before 1800s. When I
Yeah.
start these combat conversations with pro-Palestinians about when the Jews first started coming, I started the early 1700s
Mm,
because that's when those first really aggressive pogroms happened on the Yemenite Jews and they started leaving. Some
yeah.
went back and then they left again in the 1800s and they came back 1920. You know, but always intermixed. Jews were always leaving and coming back and leaving and coming back because they
Yes.
never felt safe.
Yes.
There were Ashkenazi Jewish groups that made it to Tzfat in the 1500s, but before that, 100 years earlier, there was a bunch of Sephardi Jews that came, and
Yeah.
some were from Morocco, some were from Spain, some were from Libya, and they, you know, in Yafo, where I lived like during the whole last summer, there's a synagogue there from Libyan, Tunisian, and Algerian Jews that was opened in the 1700s in the heart of Yafo. It's one of the
Wow.
most amazing synagogues in the world.
Oh, I have to go.
But people don't think about this stuff.
Yeah.
Iraqi Jews, something amazing that I learned, and I don't know if it's true, so nobody quote me on this. It's a
Okay.
story that I heard from a few Iraqi Jews. They used to actually do pilgrimages from Baghdad to Palestine, to Jerusalem at the time,
Yeah.
to go and pray at the Western Wall and visit Jerusalem. And it was so unsafe for them in Palestine at the time. It was so dangerous for them, so hostile
Wow.
during Muslim rule and Ottoman rule that they would just leave and go back to Baghdad. But they would do a
Wow.
pilgrimage from Iraq to there and back. So
Wow.
we've always had interaction with the land,
Yeah.
especially people who lived in the direct area of the Middle East. But I always find it crazy to imagine is like Ukraine is 2,000 kilometers from Israel.
Mm-hmm.
So is Somalia.
Wow.
Why is it so hard to imagine that we could look that way
Differently.
and that way?
Yes. Wow, that's a good point. I didn't think about that. I want to go back to something you said earlier about Zionism.
Yep.
And I always like to say, like, listen, Zionism didn't start in the 1800s with Herzl in Europe. So can you explain to our listeners what Zionism is and even the history of Zionism among Mizrahi Jews as well?
I have something. Can I show it to you?
Yeah. Do you want to get it?
Can I get it real
Yeah,
quick?
grab
So
it.
I've been traveling around the Caribbean for the last month,
Okay.
doing talks to teach Caribbean people about Israel. I traveled to a bunch of different countries there. And in my talk, I was showing them these artifacts that I had collected in Jerusalem.
Well,
This right here, this coin is 2,100 years old. It's a real artifact. I bought it from a coin dealer in Jerusalem. So last summer, during the heat of the war, I was invited by
wow.
the city of David to tour the tunnels underground in Jerusalem.
Yes.
And we were walking in these tunnels, and there's this big glass box that's just placed randomly on one of these tunnels. It's like crooked too.
I'm trying to think if I've been in the tunnels.
In the
Yeah, in the water tunnels.
No, so these are ones that are even deeper.
Okay, I haven't been to those. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So
They
tell me.
they they used to connect the Siloam pool
Okay.
from the city of David all the way to the temple. So this
Wow.
was a path that ancient Jerusalemites used to walk.
Okay.
And in this tunnel, you have this glass box. And it's so funny to see how much Jews are obsessed with proving that we lived in Yerushalayim in Israel.
Yeah.
I go and think there's a coin sitting on the ground. So they saw this coin, and their first thought was, let's just put it here, nobody touch it.
Yeah. This is the coin.
This is the coin. This is one.
Wow.
You can find many of them in Jerusalem.
Okay.
And on the coin, it says two really amazing things. It's written in Paleo Hebrew.
Okay.
The Hebrew that we use today in the state of Israel, the same Hebrew, the modernized Hebrew,
Yes.
we can still read it. You just have to understand the alphabet, but it reads the same.
Okay.
So it's the same exact language that you and I know.
Okay.
Now, I don't know how to read Paleo Hebrew, so I asked my friend Josh, who is an incredible antiquities and coin video creator.
Yes.
He knows how to read this Paleo Hebrew, so he read the coin out to me. On one side, it says Shnat Shtaim, which
Okay,
honors
I
or
see that.
demarcates the second year to when the Romans occupied Jerusalem. But on the other side of the coin, it says literally, I think this is the biggest proof against the pro-Palestine narrative possible. It
Okay.
says the words Lecherut Zion, which in Hebrew directly translates to freedom to Zion. So when
Wow.
people tell me Zionism is a white colonial European concept, I bring that coin out and I say to them, 2,100 years ago, our ancestors in Yerushalayim, when they were being raped and murdered and pillaged and abused the same ways the Nazis did to us, the same way that October 7th, the same way the Palestinians did to us on October 7th, the Romans did the same exact strategy.
Mm,
When they were hiding in the tunnels, they minted those coins to
mm.
for us today, for the children of Israel today, behold,
Yeah.
to be able to say, that's our lineage, that's our
Yes.
heritage, that's
Yes.
freedom to Zion, freedom to Israel. What is Zion? Zion is Jerusalem.
Yeah.
What does Lecherut Zion mean? Lecherut Zion means a Jewish person's right or an Israelite's right to self-determine in their ancestral homeland. It doesn't mean killing Palestinians, it doesn't mean ethnically cleansing anybody. Even throughout Jewish history and Israelite history, we always had different tribes of people living with us, cooperating with us. Lebanon, now enemies of ours.
Yeah.
Back in the day, the who supplied the wood for the creation of the first temple?
Lebanon.
It was Lebanon,
Yeah.
King and Tyr. We
Yes.
used to operate, we used to work with
The
the
acacia
Phoenicians.
wood.
They were
Yes.
they were our friends, and
Yeah.
it should be like that today. But Zionism is irremovable from our worldview. You
Mm,
can't be a Jew without being a Zionist. I really believe that.
yeah.
There's no such thing as an anti-Zionist Jew. In my opinion, this is a very confused Jew.
Yeah. Do you think people need to understand the difference between what was political Zionism in Europe and the Zionism that you just explained? Because I see a lot of people like Candace Owens and others say, well, even Jews are anti-Zionist. And it irks me so bad because they're not diving into what that means to us as a family and what
Yeah.
that means as political Zionism and all of those things that were happening in Europe and what it means to the religious community and the ultra-Orthodox, etc. Because at the end of the day, we're all Zionists. You know, we all believe that the land is holy, that we derive from the land, that we're indigenous to the land. And there's some beliefs about should we live in the land right now or should we not? Do we wait for the Mashiach, etc. So when people throw that out there and say even Jews are anti-Zionist, it irritates me so bad because they're not putting it into context and the complexities of what that means.
So I have a specific beef with Candace Owens too, because I made a video on this topic directed at her.
Okay.
She watched it and replied LMAO, which I was like, the amount of disrespect you can show to a topic that you clearly don't understand anything about.
Yeah.
The nuance behind being an anti-Zionist Jew. Being an anti-Zionist Jew requires a huge level of Jewish privilege.
Yeah.
You have had to have been a very privileged Jew to be an anti-Zionist Jew today.
Mm,
So I'll put it to an example like this. My entire family, me, my mom, my dad, all of my cousins, all of my aunts and uncles directly required the creation of the state of Israel to be alive today. How could I ever be an anti-Zionist Jew? And I know my family story well. I studied it. We never occupied anybody's house. We never taken over anybody's house. We never killed anybody unjustly. Everything that we have, and we never succeeded. My family is poor as can be. My
mm,
family is as baseline Israeli, as moderate or below lower class as can be. We've
mm,
never been given anything. Nobody owns any houses or any land. We're all just a bunch of Mizrahi Jews who ended up working and pulling ourselves by our bootstraps and surviving today. So, taking this anti-Zionist perspective, it requires such a level of privilege to be an anti-Zionist Jew.
right.
And when I try to explain something like that to Candace Owens, I made a very beautiful video directed right at her that was respectful.
Mm,
And for somebody like her to just kind of laugh in my face, it tells me everything about what I need to know about her perspective.
right.
Somebody like her, or people who take that perspective, they're not interested in understanding the nuances of being an Israeli today.
Yes.
They're not interested in knowing what being a Zionist actually means or what it stands for.
Yes.
And I agree with you. We do need to a certain degree, we need to separate the Zionism, the political Zionism of the creation of the state,
Yeah.
to what it actually means holistically.
Yes.
Because
And the arguments that were going on between Jews in Europe about Zionism and kibbutzim and socialism and
Mhm.
being atheists and
Being
like
atheist, right?
all of these things, like there were issues, but Zionism, like for the collective to return back to Israel, like this, it's beautiful, you know?
Mhm. It's absurd to think that Herzl was the first Zionist somehow.
Yes.
Even in Wikipedia, if you read about Zionists, there's a whole section called Proto-Zionism,
Yeah.
and it tells you how much of that was an ancient belief. Why did the Yemenites start coming back in the 1800s and 1700s? Why
Yes.
would they choose, if they were just Yemenite Arabs that practiced Judaism as a religion, why would they decide to trek back to Israel?
Yes. Or I'm forgetting his name, but shout out to that Semite because he did a story about him about
Yirmiyahu.
Yirmiyahu. He did the story about the Ethiopian Jews who walked all the way to the Red Sea,
Mhm,
got in the Red Sea and drowned because they wanted to go back to Zion
mhm.
and they thought that God would split the Red Sea for them, so they just got in and they all drowned. But that's Zionism
Yep.
to go back to return back to
You know,
Zion.
even today in Ethiopia, Ethiopian Jewish community is like probably my favorite out of all the diaspora communities.
Well, didn't you say that the two communities come from the same line
Well, we
from the
have very
first?
similar, yeah, we have
Yeah.
very similar background, at least in the belief system. And I've been doing a lot of my own like research on that community. I've done a lot of videos with them. So I learned recently from an Ethiopian friend, his name is Aviel, incredible guide in Jerusalem. And he was telling me a little bit about the family story of, I don't know if you've ever heard the term falashmura.
Yes.
So that's the term that sometimes even Israelis will use towards to the Ethiopian Jewish community.
Yes.
But do you know what the meaning of that word is?
Didn't they give that term to them in Ethiopia? It's like stranger or something.
Exactly.
Yes.
So in Ethiopia, they gave the Beta Israel, which we call them today in Israel, this terminology falashmura, which in their language means somebody who's stranger, a foreigner from that land.
Yes.
So imagine even to the untrained eye, and I would say this specifically towards Western liberals
Yes.
who would look at all Iraqis, whether they were Christian, Muslim, or Jewish, and be like, oh, they're all the same because they're brown. Or these Ethiopians, they're all the same because they're black.
Yes.
They, even in those little micro communities, they recognized us as not
Them.
them.
Yes.
In Syria, for example, my friend Abraham Hamra was an amazing Jewish advocate.
Oh, I love him.
He's incredible. He
Yes.
comes from the Shami Jewish diaspora, which is the Damascus Jews. They used to call them Musawi, which means
Mm.
the people of Moses.
Yes.
So you would seemingly, if I'm not going to say you're racist, if you're untrained, you would just look and be like, oh, all these people are the same.
Yes.
But we're not. They always recognized us as not one of them.
Yeah.
Even in Ethiopia, they had a term for it to call him a stranger.
Yes.
And that's how that yearning for Zionism comes about. That's why you had, before Operation Moses and during Operation Moses to repatriate Ethiopian Jews to Israel, you had Ethiopians who were willing to cross through the deserts of Somalia and Sudan
Yeah.
just for a chance to make it to the promised
And
land.
they
And
walked.
it wasn't for economic opportunity, I promise you that.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
absolutely based on ideology because they prayed Shana Babi Yerushalayim.
Yeah.
They did that for 1,000, 2,000 years in Ethiopia.
What what is your vision for the land of Israel? For this conflict, for your people? What's your vision?
I know it's capable for us to live in peace. I think it's going to require like a really deep level of introspection and connection with Hashem and spirituality that at the moment there's like a large part of our nation that doesn't want to touch that because they think it's goofy. But I can't even remember who told me, which rabbi told me this, but I've been doing a lot of connecting with the Jewish communities in Tzfat,
Mm.
and I have two sort of mentors there, Eliyahu Pereira and Rabbi Yecheskel Yosef Abulafia, who are these, I would say they're two of the most interesting Jews that exist today.
Okay, I gotta
They're
meet them then.
Yeah, I would love to put you in touch with them. The whole scene that's happening up there in Sfat, it's like a new age understanding of spirituality with Judaism. It goes into introspection, it goes into meditation, it goes into deeper concepts like the metaphysical and understanding Kabbalistic practices in every day. And it's when I see where we're heading as Am Yisrael, I see a really dark path and I see a really light path.
Mm,
And the closer we gravitate towards spirituality, you don't have to believe in God, but just spirituality,
hmm.
believing that there's a purpose behind everything we're doing and that there's a collective mission here, which is Geulah and
Yeah,
bringing a light, Tikkun Olam.
yeah.
Understanding that even if you're the most secular Israeli, and I don't care if you're Muslim or if you're Christian or if you're Palestinian, if you're Bedouin, if you're Druze, just understanding that we're on a collective mission together on this tiny strip of land. I see that being the path of light. The
Mm,
path of dark is us continuing to try to emulate America or the values and morals of America and the Middle East and just wanting to be another Western liberal democracy in the Middle East.
Mm,
People forget that we're not our purpose on earth. Again, it's not just a Jewish purpose, it's the purpose of Am Yisrael. Anybody who's living with us in the borders of Israel today is technically a part of Am Yisrael. They're living with us, and we should honor them as such. We all have a collective mission to make the world a better place.
yeah.
It's our job,
Yeah.
and we need to propel forward towards that. So I
Yes.
try to do it in my own way. For me, it's trying to understand who we are, where we came from, and projecting that onto the world. I see stuff like what Rudy is doing, for example, with the Sudra.
Mm-hmm.
I think that is one of the most, and that will be looked at as a in my opinion, in the future, that will be looked at as a historical pivotal moment in the Jewish world.
Bezrat Hashem.
Be'ezrat Hashem, where we started taking something back. And you see what people like the Temple Institute, as controversial as they are in Jerusalem, how they're reclaiming the ancient chatzotzot, the trumpets of the first temple.
Yeah.
They're putting together the Levitical choir. And as crazy as it is, they're collecting the red heifers.
Yes.
And I got to meet those cows. It was a very interesting experience, but they're claiming our ancient Jewish heritage again.
Yeah.
We're back home now, and we've been back home for 76 years confused. It's time we really start reclaiming who we are, understanding what our purpose is in the land, and how can we push this whole mission forward.
Yeah. I love that. Tal, thank you so much for being on the Black and Jewish
Thanks for
podcast.
having me.
Thank you for exposing Mizrahi Jews and being the face for Mizrahi Jews. And thanks for just bringing a deeper understanding to what Zionism is and who the Jewish people really are. And I just bless you that you have much, much success in all that you do.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, you guys, that is a wrap on the Black and Jewish podcast. Comment down below what you learned about Zionism, what you learned about Mizrahi Jews, and I will see you next week.